Hi guys, welcome back to Otto's Garage. Exhaust. Right, so I've not done this before, but I'm going to give it a go. We've got a stainless system off a it's a Group A system, but basically it doesn't quite fit because obviously the turbo that I've got on isn't the same as the one that came off the car. So what I've done is I've made a purchase for some stainless MIG wire, and we've got a couple of little extra tubes that we can make some fillets in, etc. And I'm just going to have a go at basically modifying the exhaust and just see how I get on with it. So under the car you can see this is the downpipe that's coming down. That's clamped on the side of the turbo with the V-clamp, and then it kind of snakes away and past the front suspension part and also past the sump. But I've just kind of made an extension piece in here. However, it's not quite right because it's, as you can see on the back there, it's just fouling that corner of the sump. So what I'm going to do is drop the exhaust off, cut out this extension piece here. It needs to be shorter so it'll pull it away from that suspension arm. We have got a bit of room at the front of the sump here, so we've got plenty of sideways movement. And this will need a bit of a taper in it as well, which will straighten up that joint or that run as it goes past the sump, because that really should be running parallel to that. And then that will also mean that it'll clear that back engine gearbox mount as well, because again we have got a bit of room in behind the suspension arm. So that's the plan. Get that off, get this cut, offer it up. This can stay in its current position pretty much, that's okay. And then when she's in about the right place, I can get a tack from here just to get a couple of tacks in, and then we can hopefully make the exhaust fit a little better. Looking at the exhaust, I've kind of made the downpipes on, and we've got this is the piece that attaches as a downpipe, but I'm just not happy with how it kind of bends around the sump. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off. This is the piece I extended a bit earlier. We're going to cut that off, get this piece right, get this lining up nicely down the side of the sump, and then we'll go again and we'll just keep working our way back basically. I think probably once we get past this kink of the suspension and the back mount of the gearbox, it'll probably be okay from there on back. But this snaky bit at the front just isn't right, and I just need to have it going the right way so it's not fouling on anything. Okay, so that's the downpipe, and then what I've done is I've just taken this next section and we put a little bit of a join in it, so that basically now you can see where those lines are there. When that line's up there, you can see that it kind of now is lining up nicely with the side of the sump. So let's get them in the right place. Yeah, you can see it's kind of parallel to the sump now, which is kind of what I was looking for. So and it's clearing this front suspension. So the exhaust before just didn't fit at all, and somebody's obviously just thrashed the hell out of it. You know, must have been right up tight here somewhere to get it past that. So I don't know whether I can get inside there and knock that out, but I'm not that bothered about it. It's not really going to make huge amounts of difference at that point. But anyway, I can get this on, get that tacked up, and we'll move on further back, and then we can see how the rest of it fits on the other end of this pipe. The trickiest thing, probably doing it on the floor as opposed to on a lift, is getting everything positioned in the right place. We've just kind of supported the exhaust on an axle stand and a pack of blocks there, and we can just see here how it's going to need a bit of section welding in there just to try and extend that so we get good clearance around those components at the back. But once I've got a couple of tacks in that, I think we'll be away, and then basically I can take the whole of this front off and we can weld it up. I've cut this fillet piece in, and it's got a slight angle on the end here as well, as has the original pipe and that point. And then what I've basically done is I've just held it together with some tape so that I can put a couple of tacks on it. But the fillet's good. I like the way that joins all the way around. That's good. So we can get a couple of tacks on there, maybe 2 or 3 just around it, and then we can get it back up on the car and just see how it mounts up to the downpipe, which is going to meet at this end. So with that front downpipe in place, I'm now able to assemble the rest of the exhaust system, working my way to the back. But I am going to modify it because obviously the fuel tank is now in the boot, whereas on the standard car it's underneath. So the exhaust had to snake around the tank in standard form. What I'm going to do now is just lose that loop and just go straight from the transmission tunnel straight the way over the back of the drive shafts, which is going to need a little more fabricating. That's the loop piece that goes around the fuel tank. So normally the fuel tank would sit in this corner here, and this would go up and then snake up over the top of the diff carrier, and ultimately it will come out up in that hole up there. But what I've done so far is I've basically fitted the system coming back. There's the bolt-in midsection there, which I can put another silencer in if I have to, or resonator box, and then you can see the Zorst kind of aiming towards the rear subframe in that position, and that's the next bit we need to make. And there it is. So this is the flange that bolts onto the center section where I could put the muffler in there if I need to. And then what I've done is I've taken out that big Z that goes around the fuel tank, and then it goes straight over the top of the drive shaft. So that will come through here, the drive shafts, and over the diff there. So that is cool. That's much straighter. All I need to do now is have that welded up, and then we can have a look at the rear box and just see what we're going to do there, whether we have the box running laterally across the back of the car as it would do standard, or whether it's just going to come shooting straight out below the bumper and fit on the end of that pipe that I've just made. So that I think is for another day, but this is good news. We're nearly there with the Zorst. Right, I've taken the back box and I've basically cut the tailpipe off it and the angle down at this end, refilleted. That's going to now connect up onto the pipe coming over the back drive shaft, and then this little angle here will mean that we can reuse the tail section, and that'll go on there and then pop out at the back. So basically what I've done is I've taken out a couple of 90-degree bends and just made it fit a little easier across the back, because obviously the car is longer than the Delta, and that will accommodate that extra 300mm length. So let's get it tacked up and see what she looks like. Right, so I've got the main system on there and everything's tacked up in the right place, and then the only other thing we need to have a look at are the brackets. So for the exhaust brackets, what I've got is some 12mm stainless, and what you need to do is heat it up in the vise, and then it'll bend quite nicely into the shape that you're after. So in this instance, the crank at the end there is going into the red pulley bush, and then this end here is going to be onto the exhaust, and that'll get welded on each side. So I just need to crop that off, offer it up and get a tack on it. Another hot day, and I've just finished tacking up that system, so let's have a look at it. And there it is. So that's the end that goes to the center box delete kit at the moment. Hanger on there, and then it runs round. This is the bit that goes over the rear drive shaft by the diff there, and then the reformed back box and the tailpipe with the hangers on it as well. So that's worked nicely. So all I need to do now is get it all welded up, and then it can go back on the car. And of course what I've managed to do there is get rid of the bends that went around the fuel tank and the 290 degrees each side of the rear silencer. So we've gone diagonally across the bottom of the boot floor there. So it's made it a bit freer flowing, but I don't think there'll be an issue anyway with it being a 3-inch system, 75mm. Happy days. Let's just have a look at that exhaust. I've got the back end of the car jacked up in the air. And there she is. So that's the tail section, and the rear silencer going through and over that back of the subframe there, and then on down the car to the front to those downpipes and there. So that's gone really well. We're liking how that all fits, and yeah, all good in the hood. The next thing, of course, is to try and get it started up, and then we can perhaps see or hear what it's like. There's another view of that back box, and you can now see how that exhaust snakes over all of those bars. This was the one I was concerned about because I thought it might foul it, but it's all nice and clear, and the jobs are good. And so I've got all those bolted back up again. Can now drop it back down on the ground, and then we can do something about trying to get it started. I'm not going to be able to get the car going without getting that chip sorted. It's running way too rich all over the place. So unfortunately we can't hear what that exhaust is going to sound like just yet. In any event, thanks for watching. I'm going to say bye now, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Otto's Garage. Bye bye!